Hi, I'm Keith and this is
Abby.
And we are here today to talk about our 2,000 mile review for our 2022 Harley Davidson Road Glide Limited. We've put some pretty good miles on it over the first month or so that we've owned the bike. I picked the bike up in Florida, and I'll do another video that will tell you the whole details there, but basically I rode it from Florida up to North Carolina. We did the break-in period on it. I did that on the ride up. And then the first weekend we had the bike, we took it down the bike week, cruised the coast down in Myrtle Beach, and had a great time there. But we'll do a thorough review, and I'm going to probably just walk over to the bike. And there's a couple of gripes, so not really gripes, but things that I've done to the bike. I'm not going to be pushing parts here or anything like that, but I'm just going to tell you some of my honest feedback on the bike, the way it is, and what we've done to it. Anything else to add, Abby, before we go over there?
The bike's been great. It's so comfortable to ride. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I've ridden CBRs. I've ridden Super Teneres. I've ridden a ZX14R was the bike we just got off. You know, we had about 10,000 miles on that bike, which really wasn't a lot, but we've already put 2,000 miles on this bike in about a month. So hope you enjoy the video. So the two modifications that we've done really to the bike at this point is we put highway pegs on, and then we put a stage 2, which included the torque cam, and we went with the tab 4.5 slip-ons with the baffles and the Harley Davidson controller. And I'll tell you what, it sounds amazing. That's one thing I'd highly recommend doing from as soon as you get the bike is do the stage 2, get the torque cam in it and the tabs, or I'm sorry, not the tabs, but just get a slip-on to make it sound a little more like the iconic Harley Davidson sound, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later.
As far as the back seat on the bike, it's super comfortable. The position that you're riding in works really great for me. I'm about 5'7.5", so for me having the pegs here, or they're actually not pegs, they're actually full foot pads, which is awesome because I'm used to just a small little peg. And then the angle that your legs are at is just super comfortable. I am sitting back further than I'm used to because I'm used to a sport bike where I'm like this the whole time. So I do get a little more wind back here, or if he takes off quick and I'm not ready, I might go back a little bit. But overall, I mean, it's so comfortable. I can't imagine going back to the sport bike now. Another cool thing too is I've got my own speakers here, and then I've got controls over here, so I can turn music up or down right here. So that's really nice, and it's also, I mean, it's just awesome to be able to ride and not have to.
What were you saying about the controls again for the?
Oh, I was saying that all the controls for my speaker are right here, so I can turn the music up or down, and adjust. I can turn it on and off. I think I can also adjust the radio station too if I want to. And then it's just really nice to have a full seat, so I can just relax and enjoy the ride without having to hang on for dear life.
And so we have the stock floorboards on it for you, but how are those? You said you like those?
These are great because I'm used to just a little peg, and normally the whole time I'm like have my toe, I have like the ball of my foot on a peg and my heel down, and after a while, like your foot starts to cramp. So it's nice just to have a full resting place for my foot.
How is the heat coming off the motor for you?
I don't feel it at all, honestly.
You don't feel it at all?
No.
What about the vibration of the bike?
I mean,
Is it rattling you? Is it?
no.
No.
It feels like a really comfortable, smooth ride.
All right. What about in the rain? When riding in the rain, was I eating most of the rain, or was
I was getting a fair amount of my own rain, but it wasn't too bad. I kind of hunkered down behind you. of it, but
Okay.
I thought riding in the rain was better than I expected.
Great, great. How is it? Is it difficult to get on and off the bike?
Getting on is really easy. So you just like getting on a horse, step up on one side and swing your leg around, sit down. That's no big deal. Getting off is a little more challenge because you gotta put the leg that you're gonna stand on the ground with on the ground. So you kind of have to slide and then figure out how you're gonna pull your foot around without kicking the driver.
Cool. Any other thoughts so far?
I love it. I think it's a great purchase. I'm super happy.
We've got some long rides planned, so we're gonna probably head up to Connecticut and down to Alabama on the bike, and I want to talk her into just hauling out up to Sturgis. But what are your thoughts on a long ride? Do you think
I think I can handle a long ride as long as we take adequate breaks.
I've put about 10 hours on the bike the second day, because I drove from Florida to Greensboro, North Carolina, from Greensboro to Myrtle Beach. So
Right.
I think that was
I've already ridden for about 4 hours.
Yep.
Back. So do you want to see my current dismount of the bike?
yeah, let's see your current
This
dismounts.
may not be for everybody, but this is currently the way I'm getting off the bike. Normally you got to bring this foot around, so I just
That's probably an extra special dismount there. I don't think most people get off the bike like that, but cool. Well, thank you. All right, so we're going to start here with the controls on the left-hand side. Well, first off, let's start here at the mirrors. The mirrors on this bike are excellent. Really, you're not looking at your elbows. I want to talk about one more thing here, the clutch. Clutch on the bike is amazing. It works, it's really good. The friction zone is close in, easy to control. The friction zone, smooth gear changes, but really manipulating the friction zone in your slow speed maneuvering, the clutch is really close in, so you can have really good control over it. We test drove the Indian Challenger, and you had to fully extend that clutch all the way out before you got into the friction zone. So I really like the clutch on this bike.
looking for ways to modify it.
All right, here we are from the driver's perspective on the bike, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all the details of the bike and how I like it so far. There's a number of things that, to be a little nitpicky on, that I'm not super happy with, but again, as I heard in a recent Top Gun podcast, that's like picking the fly shit out of the pepper. So I thought that was pretty funny. But anyway, so we're going to start here at the windscreen. This is the stock windscreen, and I have absolutely no complaints over it. It stops just the right amount of wind when we're riding in the rain. It does a good job, doing a good job protecting me. It doesn't, I have just enough air coming over the top and around it to, cool my face and to cool me as I need to. It also, no issues there with the screen. I guess it's not cool and I should modify it, but I'll have to find one that's just like it to put money into, because for me it's the perfect height. Next, I want to talk about the handlebars. These are the stock handlebars, and again, for my body size, I'm 5'10". From a motorcycle control standpoint, these things are perfect for me. The height is good. My shoulders, my elbows are slightly bent. I have good control. I can easily counter steer, and my arms and shoulders don't hurt. They don't ache. So again, if I replace these with aftermarket handlebars that maybe have some different design, or the black, I don't see spending the money on that right now as a priority, just because these handlebars work perfect for me. And I know that they don't work perfect for everybody, but again, like at 5'10", for me, these handlebars they work great for me. So if I find something aftermarket, I'm gonna have to find something with identical sweep angles and maybe just a different design. So Up here you've got the fuel gauge and the charging, the battery power on the bike, what the charging system, electrical system's running at, and no complaints there. The first time I was driving back from Florida and I hit a quarter of a tank, I got a little concerned because I wasn't sure if that was the empty or if that was the quarter mark, but it was in fact the quarter mark. So I made it to the gas station. The display, I'm not going to go into I guess I can go into, I'll turn it on here just so we can take a quick look at it, but
our legendary iHeartRadio Music Festival in Vegas this September.
Turn the volume down. I had to we'll accept that. So the controls on the hand. So again, this is the non-Apple CarPlay interface, which we'll get to later, but it's very easy to go between the navigation mode and to move the controls around. So once I got used to this system, it worked pretty well. I do have one gripe about the navigation and Bluetooth radio system that I'll get to, but in terms of switching between the volume, adjusting the volume, changing the channel, it's all pretty straightforward here with the controls. I have no issues with these controls. They work well ergonomically. They're pretty good. Over here I can operate the clutch as well as turn the volume down. I know there's some ways of setting an automatic mode so the bike turns the volume down when you slow down, but no issues reaching the volume when I'm operating the clutch of the bike. Here are the gauges. Gauges work fine. I do have one gripe about the gauges, which is very minimal, but all your information here that you can scroll through gets displayed in this small screen here. So trips and your mileage and range. So it would have been nice to have that more of a, well, I'll get to that later as a second gripe on that. But overall, no major issues with the gauge system. Of course, you've got this main switch there for the bike. Over here, this top button, this is what manipulates what shows up on the speedometer in terms of the information. It works. I'm afraid I'm going to hit it and break it off, but it seems to be holding up good so far. Traction control. I've used this traction control in the rain before, and I have a tendency to sometimes hit this button when I'm trying to hit the top button. So if you hit that button by accident, you just see a blue light come on here so you know what's going on. The other big button over here is your speed control or cruise control. Pretty easy to operate. I do have one gripe about the speed control that we'll talk about, but it's a simple push in and down to engage, and then push down again to disengage. On the end, we've got the grip warmers. I've used these once in the pouring rain. It was kind of chilly, and they worked great. Came on fast, and no issues there so far. I did have to get used to using the directionals for the left is on the left and on the right is on the right. Coming from a sport bike, usually that's all of those controls are right in one spot. Over here on this side, it's just your basic function. Turn the bike on and then hit this. Coming back, the bike was dark and I accidentally set my thumb up here and I turned the hazards on, so I ended up riding for a few miles while I was groping around in the dark to try to find how to turn them off. But that's where your hazards are. You just push them once and push it again. So again, no issues. And then here's your directional again. Gas tank. I like the gas tank cover, but it would have been nice if on the sport bikes that I've had, In fact, all the bikes I've had except for the CBR, you put the key in turn and it pops up and retains itself in here. So with this gas cap, you actually have to remove it and set it down someplace. But it is nice. It kind of has this little area in case you do spill, it doesn't get on the finish of the bike. You can fill it from both sides, but with the kickstand, it's a little easier to come from the right side, of course. And that seems pretty solid. I haven't used the external headset yet, or the headset, so I can't really review this yet. That's one of the things we're going to probably do here moving forward. The speakers, got a couple speakers up here, and I think the speakers work okay. I think you could, if you really are into audio, it might be good at one of the shows to upgrade the amplifier system so that you can get a little more fidelity and a little more punch out of the speakers. Maybe even upgrade the speaker system. And but out of the box, I'm not disappointed. It works great. Just to quantify the speakers, going down at highway speed, 80 miles an hour with the bike on, I can turn it, I think, almost all the way up or all the way up, depending on the speaker, the song and the radio station, and we can still hear it over the road noise. So, like I said, out of the box, it's acceptable for most of what you're doing. Again, if you're an audiophile, you probably might want to get that upgraded to a little more power. From a wind standpoint and ergonomics, I just wanted to point out that you do get airflow coming up from this opening here into your face. So I haven't ridden it in really cold weather, but in warm weather, it feels pretty good coming up. So, all right, I have one more gripe about the bike. The Apple CarPlay, I haven't even tried messing with it. You've got to do there's some kind of harness upgrade, or you have to use the Harley Davidson headset, from what I understand. I'm not going to bath talk it yet because we haven't made that investment yet or had time to really play with it. But it's just one more thing you got to deal with. Also, if you plug your phone in through the jack to charge, it gets confused and it will drop your music, add your music, drop your music, and it's a little finicky there. Also, the search engine on the navigation is not good at all. I've had to put in on a couple of times, just put in things close by for it to pull up. So that's probably my fault. I have to do an upgrade, or update the software in it. And then one other thing with the gauges that I want to talk about. There's two things. One is, this LED screen here is a joke. It's from like a 1986 electronic digital watch. It's not backlit really. There's a little light that comes on here and shines down on it. They could have done a better job with that. And then also, water will catch here while you're riding in the rain, and it just doesn't fill up. So if you're wanting to pay attention to your range, for instance, and it's raining, you'll have to wipe the water off with your finger. But those are my main gripes, main issues. This is the big one here and I knew that going in, and I figured I would just deal with it, and I really haven't dealt with it yet. So it is what it is. From a riding position for me, the ergonomics are great. I guess I'll kind of maybe just start talking about a few of the gripes that I've uncovered. For me personally, we're putting big miles on. I'm going to go, and this is a full bagger, so one thing I am going to do is put a backrest on the bike for me, just to make it a little more comfortable. I found that I tend to be riding into this to kind of use this for back support, and I don't want to damage the seat, and it also gets in Abby's way. So that's one thing I will be working on is getting a backrest, again, just for the big miles that we want to put on the bike. If you're just cruising around town, you don't need it. One thing we did was put on the highway pegs. I absolutely love these highway pegs. They fit my foot perfect, and I worked with the Harley dealership to install these, and they're positioned lower based on the comfort for me. So they had a couple of different bikes set up in the shop where they had their demo bikes and just used bikes that had them on there, but they did a great job of having me sit on the bike and figure out what would be the best height for the highway pegs. And this is the last, I thought higher would be better, but really lower for me felt the best. And I think I just like the design of these. The width of these is a good width. I can put my foot here, or sometimes I even put my feet on top and I can turn my ankle out and it feels really good. There's the wind adjustment here. You can adjust the flap for how much wind opens up this vent here. And so that is something to adjust the airflow. So I don't have a heel shifter on this bike, and I really don't want one. I like coming from a sport bike, I like the single side, and I like having the room to get my foot on the floorboards. I test rode the CVO that had the heel shifter. It had a heel shifter installed on it, but for me, not having the heel shifter is personal preference. But again, it's personal preference. You know, both the floorboards for the driver and the passenger, they're a little hokey with these rubber mats, so that may be something that we might want to do just from an aesthetic standpoint. The locking systems, on the luggage works great. You know, it keeps honest people honest, but it feels solid. We've had these in the rain and haven't had any water come in, so I'm really happy with the construction and the quality of the saddlebags and the locking mechanism. So one thing that I screwed up on was coming from a sport bike. I was so used to tucking my feet up underneath me. I almost wanted to put my feet onto the passenger pegs or floorboards. But as you can see here, I did a really good job of melting my leather boots onto the heat shield for the pipes coming out. So that's totally on me. I did that, so we got a little, we christened it with a little bit of brand new bike with some damage. So, but it's not too bad. We can just replace the heat shield once I figure out how not to do that anymore. And actually, since I've been riding a while, I don't have that problem as much. We've got some boots I'm reviewing that will come out with, and I haven't melted the heel on them yet. So we also, as part of the Stage 2 kit, we got the upgraded K&N air filter. We put the Screaming Eagle cover on it there. So no issues with the motor. The motor sounds great. It feels good. It's a lot different from coming off the ZX14R. Of course, it's just a different, you know, one thing is the heat coming off this motor is a lot. I mean, they don't even have a temperature gauge on this bike, and it probably would scare people for the amount of heat that's coming off the engine. But that's just the way the system is designed. Love the brake pad. One thing I had to get used to doing was covering for slow speed riding. Shout out to Pay It Forward and his channel. He does a great job with low speed Harley driving, or bagger, actually any kind of motorcycle, but that's sort of his, you know, trying to teach people how to get good at low speed riding. But the brake pad on the Harley is great. You can put your foot up there and cover it at low speed, and it won't, you know, it doesn't apply the brake until you push on it. So it's a really ergonomically friendly. It's big, and it works great. So here are the headlights, and honestly, this is probably one of my biggest gripes about the bike. I would say the headlights are adequate, but I would say for the size of these headlights, I pretty much drive with my high beams on all the time, unless I'm in real city traffic with street lights everywhere. The way they're pointed, it's not very far out, and they're really not that great. The ZX14, again, just for comparison, that's what I'm coming off of most recently. It would light everything up with the lights, with the headlights on high beam, and they had a LED technology, and the headlights were probably a quarter of the size of that. There were 4 of them, so was really expecting a little more out of the size and the weight for these headlights. So that's probably one thing that we would consider upgrading. I'm not too worried about the cavity here or the filler lights, but you know, when I hit the high beams, I want to light up the dark so that we can, especially traveling in the middle of highway, and we want to keep an eye out for critters. The farther and wider we can see, the better when we're all alone. So this would be one thing that I will probably want to upgrade as well. The brakes, you know, I wouldn't say they're super high performance brakes, but I'd say they're more than adequate. I drag brake in the corners, and you know, the bike handles amazingly well. It stops. You know, I can feel the weight of the bike when stopping, so I always give myself a little more room. But I would say the brakes are definitely adequate again, but it's not like a 400-pound sport bike. This is a 1,000-pound bagger, so really no complaints from the braking system. This does have the linked braking system. I thankfully haven't had the opportunity to test that and just grab all front brake to slow the bike down in a hurry, but you know, for drag braking through the turns, it works great for the corners. And then the independent rear braking for slow speed maneuvers, it works great. No complaints. In the rain, ridden in the rain a number of times on the bike feels super steady. It doesn't really wander very much. Fairing works great. You know, I don't get too wrapped up about, you know, the street glide, road glide, windage, blah, blah, blah. I think there's so many other variables that there's probably very few riders that can really quantitatively analyze which one is better. But in the rain, thing's been rock solid. I've used the traction control, but or the rain setting on it just to play with it, but I've also driven in the rain without it. So again, the luggage is a great place for storage. That's where we keep our rain gear on the bike. It's really nice having the ability to put our rain gear and store it on the bike, so we've always got it. And then the last thing I want to talk about is just the luggage here. You know, we can fit 2 full-size helmets in the bike, no problem. You know, once we start doing some trips on the bike, we probably won't utilize the space for our helmet storage, but you know, if we're just riding around town, it's just one less thing that we have to carry in with us. So 2 helmets, no problem. All right, and as part of our stage 2 kit, we did do the tab performance. We got the zombie baffles in there, and we went with the kind of the bezel cap pieces. They make a couple different varieties. Super pleased with the sound of these pipes. It sounds amazing. I'm not going to fire it up here just because, again, the limiting factor would be my microphone and your speakers. So I just find a buddy who's got them and listen to them. The price was very reasonable, and I think we're getting a little more performance out of the bike with the pipes, maybe just a little bit, but definitely with the stage 2 kit we are. Tires, these are the stock tires. You can kind of see how far I've pushed the bike in the turns, but these tires have done a great job in the rain and on dry roads. So far, no issues with these tires. They feel very stable in wet conditions and dry, and all the conditions we've put them through at highway speeds. So no issues with the tire. All right, well, that's our review, 2,000 mile review of the 2022 Harley Davidson Road Glide Limited. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the material, and if you have any suggestions on adventures you'd like us to go on, and if you have any questions about the bike, please leave them in the comment section below, and we'd be happy to get back to you. Abby, anything else?
That's it.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
We'll see you on the road.